Well, I think it's a really exciting time, but it's challenging, and brands are asking us to help them meet this challenge. And it really starts with what people actually do and what consumers do. And what we're seeing is they're increasingly getting their entertainment and living their lives away from what we would consider ad-supported environments. And it doesn't mean that they're still not exposed to advertising, but if we just think about that as the only way we're reaching people, we're not really going as far as we can and should be going. And even when we are doing things in an ad-supported environment, we're not really thinking about the individual as much as we can be. Those are the things that my team helps to solve. Everything from how do we bring the experiences that a brand has to life, both in person and when somebody is, online or even reading a magazine. And then how do we, if we are reaching them through the data that we know this is the right person, reaching them in the right way, how are we making sure the way that we reach them brings the brand to life and it's not just showing them the same old thing that they are going to see from any other brand?
So tell us how things have changed or where things are now, both in terms of expectations of clients and the performance of media on various platforms.
Yeah, well, I think you've got two things. One is our clients expect us to have, and we do, an incredible amount of data that we're able to leverage to understand who the audiences are that we want to be reaching, but not just who they are, what they're doing, where they are, and all of these really important factors that allow us to have a better contextual understanding of them. But that's not enough. The other part of the expectation is we want to make sure that when we do reach them, there's something compelling enough so that they don't just pass us by, but they say, whoa, what is this? And it doesn't read to them as messaging. It reads to them as an experience that they can actually take part in or they can have some impact on. And those are two, big, tough things to do, especially doing them together. But that's part of why Wavemaker has been set up the way it is with the kind of skill set that my colleagues and I have so that we can bring that to life and we can think about that consumer journey in the most effective way.
How do you guys create this content and what's involved organizationally?
Well, that's a great question. So we're set up to be super flexible. And what that means is we're not hung up on the idea that we always have to be the one creating every last piece of content. In some cases, we can work with content that our clients already have, that may be a partner agency, that might be a more traditional creative agency, or even a third party is creating, and helping them figure out how to version that. So we're thinking about, okay, this is something that may have been created for YouTube, for instance. Well, just because it works really well on YouTube doesn't mean that it's going to work well in a Facebook environment or in other display environments or maybe in the back of an airplane seat. So can we version that in a way that really makes that content work harder? So that's a big part of what we do. But there are times when we do produce it ourselves because that's just the right thing to do and we know we can do it more efficiently than a partner might do it. One thing that we're not going to do is to try to recreate what a creative agency does, because that's a very specific model that works well for those agencies, but we think there's room for the approach that I'm talking about, which is super flexible and based on trying to solve problems that exist and friction that exists in reaching the right audience with the right content at the right time.
And briefly, because we can't cover it all, tell us a little bit about some of the platforms that you're jazzed about that have been successful for you
Sure.
recently.
Yeah, so we did some really cool stuff on Snapchat, and we did it with influencers. And now Snapchat is starting to embrace influencers, but a few months ago even, that wasn't a big part of the platform, but we thought we could do it a different way. So we worked with influencers called Superfruit, and we created a kind of a choose your own adventure style video that allowed people to actually decide what the next scene was going to be and to find their own way into what the story was going to be and how it would be told. And if you think about Snap, 6 seconds is what you're always told is kind of the limit to how much attention you can expect from somebody if they don't swipe away. We were getting an average of 30 seconds of view, which is phenomenal there. And fans were creating their own cuts and putting them up on YouTube of here's what happens if you choose all of these choices. Those are the kinds of things that get me excited.
And who is that for?
That was for IKEA.
And what were their expectations?
So they really wanted to reach an audience that can be tough to reach, which are, younger people, what sometimes we call millennials in the industry, but I think that's a catch-all term. But, they might be young but starting families. They might still be in college, but reaching them with back-to-school messaging and letting them know that IKEA is the right place for them to be at and to go to. But to reach that audience, you have to be able to break through to them. And that means sometimes breaking the rules of what you're told works on a particular platform. And in this case, for Snap, it was saying, okay, we're going to use the paid advertising medium, but we're going to make a video that's interactive, which really required us going outside of Snap's ecosystem to do that, and using influencers, which again is not typical on that platform.
Cool. And finally, the changing face of advertising. We talk about that, the death of advertising, the preference of consumers, and so forth. But there's many flavors. But what do you hope that your group, produces and finds success with?
Well, for us, it's every interaction that a person has with any of our clients as a brand, can those interactions always feel, first of all, like they're infused with the DNA of what that brand is and what they stand for? And can they feel like an experience that those, a consumer or a person welcomes having? Because too often an ad is something to skip or to suffer through, and we can do better than that. And we can also recognize that people increasingly are focusing their attention on places that may not have ads at all. But they could be places to bring our brands to life. But it has to be done in a way where there's some value for the person who's experiencing that. And that's what I hope our group is creating. And I feel like we are.